Welcome to the Focus on Goals podcast, where we provide inspiration for the next generation with your hosts Angelo from SCS Sports Coaching Specialists and Lee from Happy Days Photography. Hello Angelo, how are you? We're on.
How are you, Lee, mate? You all right?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, we're good. We're live. We've made it work. I think. Hopefully, we can hear. Everyone can hear what we're saying. We're all set up, ready to go. So, how you been?
Yeah, really good, mate. Obviously, it's a tough time, isn't it, for everyone? So,
busy,
this is sort of bringing a little bit of excitement to my night tonight.
Something to look forward to all week, isn't it? Poor old Kem's probably sitting there with his hands in his head, going, "What's going on?"
It'll be interesting to hear sort of Kem's views. Probably similar to Duke's because they're around the same sort of time.
Yeah.
But it'll just be good to sort of hear his experiences.
Yeah, mate, fantastic. I think before we sort of get Kem on, I think maybe if we just have a little chat and explain to everyone what we're doing and why we're doing it, because obviously SCS Sports Coaching, Happy Days Photography doesn't necessarily culminate into a podcast to people going, what you're doing. So obviously for people that don't know, just have a little chat about you and what you do and what your business is, will you?
Yeah, so it's actually our 10-year anniversary of the company.
Nice
year,
one.
Which is obviously a proud moment. For we're gonna have a big do.
Yeah.
And have all our
we had a party almost planned as well, didn't we?
Yeah, it'll be a big party, which will be quite fun. But we do sports coaching all in schools, doing PE lessons, after school clubs. But also we run an academy as well.
Yeah.
So
big now, isn't it? How many you got now?
We've got over like 200 children now, which
nice.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they come to train with us once a week.
Cool.
And then hopefully, we send them to pro clubs. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it, mate.
Obviously, business at the moment is literally at a standstill. There's obviously bigger and more important things happening in the world at the moment. But obviously, hopefully, we'll all be back to normality shortly.
With any luck, mate. With any luck. Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we do school photography. That's our core business, is that we do a lot of school photography. We work with almost 50 schools throughout the southeast at the moment. That door shut kind of thing. So we've launched a Levers project and a few other bits that we're doing. So, but yeah, we've got lots going on. I mean, for me, when we spoke about doing this podcast, so we've got a name now, we've got a brand. It's all out there. We've called it Focus on Goals, to mix a little bit of your world and my world. And the tagline we've got about the inspiration to the next generation partly came from what yours is and mine is, because we want to help out youngsters and try and give them an insight really on what it takes to get anywhere and the struggles that people have had.
Yeah, I think the main, like I say, we spoke plenty of times about it. The main thing about the podcast, just giving a real good insight, mostly to children, but also to adults as well, because I'm sure there's lots of men out there that probably thinking, I could have been a footballer, blah, 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 like we all do. But tonight it's going to be, good insight from Kem about, what it takes really.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's going to be.
A lot of people don't have the opportunity to hear this sort of stuff, so it's pretty cool.
Now, I think on that note, should we get Kem in? Let's do it. I'm going to press a button and we'll all hope for the best.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, mate. I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
How are you, Kem? You good?
Yeah, good, mate. How's things?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Just sort of staying at home, doing a little bit of walking. What about yourself?
Well, I've been trying to do some running. I had a my hip replaced on September 30th last year.
Okay.
I was off for the best part of 5 weeks off of work, and then sort of got back into it, and now I'm up to 8 miles now, doing like 7-minute miles. So yeah, I'm getting there. I can't keep still, which I just find it difficult to sit down and do nothing. I have to try and get out there and pave the streets a little bit, and a bit of tarmac under my feet and get running.
I think
problem is though, Ange. Problem is my body's giving up on me, and I've pulled my calf last week and my hamstring this week. So as much as I want to stay fit, my body's saying leave it out.
That last time I saw you, we had a charity game, didn't we, at Southend?
That's right. Yeah.
And it was a good crowd there, and everyone was really enjoying it. But I remember you saying that you couldn't. I think you only played about 5 minutes at the end because obviously you hip. So it must have been so frustrating, because I know that was a really good night, and obviously all your friends and close people that were there.
Yeah, it was hard watching, but like I said, I couldn't even do my shoelaces up. I couldn't put my socks
you
on.
were in a bad way, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in real pain, and I come out of the operation, and 4 weeks later, I was pain free, and it was like, it's like a new lease of life, really. So it's been a godsend having it done. It's down 15, 20 years down the line, I'm going to have another one. I know that, but it's about quality of life rather than just living. Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
I've got a young family that I need to do stuff with. I've got a 11-year-old boy that's a keen runner, and I'm trying to keep up with him at the moment, and that is not easy. He done a 5:45 mile today. I couldn't get near him. Yeah, little rat. Yeah, he's killing me. Well, it was the football that done the damage, but apparently when I saw the specialist, they said that I had a slight oval shaped hip joint. Now what that done is that the oval top part of it just rubbed away on the cartilage like year in, year out, and I was bone on bone at the end, so I had no cartilage left in my hip. And so I remember specifically the point doing it. We was away, I think it was down at Exeter. I was training, I was doing some quick feet, and it felt like I pulled my groin, but it wasn't my groin. It was obviously referring from my hip to my groin, and it just led on, and from then on there, it sort of just deteriorated. But never mind.
You're sort of getting back now to running and doing little bits and stuff, which is good.
Yeah, as being a manager and watching games, I just constantly think that I'm constantly questioning. I could still do that, and I know I can't. In my head, that's the competitive nature in me saying I can still do that. I know I can. I can go out there and do that, but I can't. I've just proved I can't because I pulled my calf doing a run and pulled a hamstring. I've never pulled a hamstring in my life. I've never been quick enough to pull a hamstring. So.
Oh, dear. Well, first of all, mate, just massive thank you for coming on tonight, because obviously, we had Dukes last week, and to be fair, your name got mentioned a lot about doing one, and so giving you a call and you saying no problem.
I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing, if I'm being honest. Well, there might be some naughty questions coming.
We're going to check the questions through first.
So, I was fortunate enough that I had an older brother that played a really, really good standard football. So I got to learn a lot off of him. So when we was a lot younger, we'd both be over the park, and more often than not, I got shoved in goal, and he used to have shots at me. And just being a younger brother, he was 6 years older than me, I tend to just get put in goal. But all the time, you're just picking bits and pieces up off of him. And to see him go on, he started off at Chelsea when he was 16, 17. So the love of it, I'm a big Chelsea fan as well, because I get to watch them play week in, week out. Bearing in mind he never played, but it all started, the love of the game started from a lot younger than that. But once you start seeing your brother do really well, the love of it, and you want to sort of replicate what he does. So it was about 10, 11, I was sort of picked up by Charlton Athletic. But I also trained at those ages. I trained with West Ham, I trained with Chelsea, I trained with Tottenham, all the way up until I was 15. I never signed for anyone. My dad learned a lot from how my brother went through, and never really wanted me to get tied down to anyone. Now, I played my games of a weekend with Charlton, always with Charlton, but I trained with everyone else as well as. So I trained every day. I trained every single day as a kid. And that takes me on to something else a little bit later, when people say, oh, can you overtrain? I think he's doing too much and stuff like that. But I trained every day. And then there came a decision at 16. West Ham didn't want me at that time. They didn't want to give me a YT. I was too small, believe it or not. Tottenham offered me a YTS. Chelsea didn't offer me anything, just didn't want me at that point, which was fine. And then it was left out of Tottenham that offered me the YT, and Charlton offered me a 2-year YT and a 2-year pro deal at 16. So I signed with them. done my YT, got my pro, done 2 years at Cholton. Never really got close to being in the first team. Even there was one pre-season where I'm quite an honest person when it comes to looking in the mirror and seeing how people are doing and how I'm doing. So there was one pre-season where I thought I was doing really, really well. I was playing a lot of reserve team football, scoring lots of goals at that point.
Okay.
Playing really, really well. And pre-season, you knew if you had a chance come pre-season because Cholton done a South Coast tour down to Brighton and Bournemouth and places like that. And if you got on that tour, that meant that you was going to be in and around the first team squad that season. I didn't even get close. So I was a little bit demoralised after that. I trained every day still, and I still worked hard and stuff like that. But come Christmas, I went in. Me and my dad had a chat because he's the person I always go to.
Yeah, of course.
Always just fell out. He was the person I always went to. So we had a chat, and I said, "Listen, I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to happen at Cholton. Maybe we need to go and have a chat with Alan Kirbishley, who was the manager at that time, and see what the deal was." We went in and we spoke to the gaffer, who was Curbs at the time, and it was great. He was honest. It's exactly what I want. I just said, "Listen, what's the script here? Am I going to get another contract here? My contract's up in June, July.
Right.
I don't want to be waiting around till June and there's 3,000 people all looking for clubs. I'd like to know as soon as possible what's going to happen." And he said to me, "Look, the year before we just got promoted into the Premier League as well, which didn't really do me many favours because they got more money and more players came in.
Okay.
And they had some really fantastic midfield as well. Don't get me wrong. And looking back, I never stood a chance. But he said, "Look, Kem, you're not going to get in my first team. I think it's best that you try and go away and you find another club, and I'll help you find another club." And I was like, "All right, brilliant, no problems." I just said, "If I leave, you're not going to want any money for me because that makes it a lot more difficult for me to find another club if you're going to ask for money for me when I've done nothing in the game." And he said, "No, not a problem. I'll help you. No problem." So he sent me to Reading, who Alan Pardew was the manager at that time.
Right.
I went down there, stayed in digs, which was awful. I still remember it.
Were you with other players, or was it someone putting you up?
I'd never stayed in digs in my life before. I was always fortunate enough wherever I was, I lived close enough to drive to. And I was living in Kent and driving from Kent to Reading every day.
Right.
How old was you at this point?
At that point, I was 20.
20 years of age, okay.
I was 20 years of age at this point.
Yeah.
And it was awful staying in these digs. And in the end, I went with another lad from Cholton, a boy called Anthony Ullman, who we decided that, listen, we're not staying in these digs no more. We'll drive every other day and we'll stay in a hotel every other day as well. So we ended up doing that. But I went down there. First week went really, really well. I'd done really well. We played a game against some Irish team that came over and we beat them 9-something. And I scored a hat trick and I set up 2. And it was like, wow, I've done really well here. And then in training, I just nipped my hamstring. I mean, nipped it. And what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to train poorly and lose the good start that I had. So I said, listen, my hamstring's a bit sore. Is it okay if I go back to Cholton, get some treatment, and when I'm ready, I'll come back and I'll go again? And they said, yeah, not a problem. So I went back, got treatment, and came back. And it was fine. Hamstring was absolutely fine. But we had a game against Southampton. And I remember playing against Southampton and an old boy. I don't know if you remember a boy called Chris Marsden, bald fella, centre midfield player, gave me an absolute schooling that day. Like I didn't even touch it. I can't remember touching the ball, if I'm being honest. And the game just passed me by. And the reserve team manager and the first team manager were both there. And on the coach on the way home, I got back to the ground and Kevin Dillon, who was the reserve team manager, come up to me and said, listen, Kem, if it was down to me, and this is your normal spiel that you get, if it was down to me, I would take you and I would work with you because I think there's something there for you. But the gaffer wants the gaffer wants someone who can come in now. And I was like,
Yeah.
right, okay, that's fine, not a problem. I get that, not a problem. So
And was that the gentle
went back
way
to
that they'd
Charlton.
normally let you down, Kim? Is that the sort of thing that
Yeah,
clubs
well,
would say?
rather than saying, "Oh, you're
You ain't
useless"
good
or
enough.
you're no good,
Yeah.
it was just a polite way of saying thanks, but no thanks. So
Yeah.
that was fine. You take that on the chin. That's just football. You're going to get knocks, and it's how you bounce back from them.
Yeah,
so
very much so.
I then went to Gillingham, who Andy Hessenthaler was the manager, and we played Bournemouth away down at Bournemouth. Again, got on the coach down there, got there, and I'd done all right. It was a game where if I was a Gillingham player, then it would have been, you done all right, not a problem. But when you go on trial somewhere, you have to stand out and you have to be better than what they've got. And I didn't do enough. If I'm being honest, I didn't do enough to warrant being signed on that case. And he said thanks, but no thanks. You just can't see you getting our first team at the moment. And I was thinking, well, maybe this ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my dad, and my dad was like, "No, you just stay positive. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Don't worry. Just keep going. Like you've got talent. You'll be fine." Tried to keep me positive, and then a really close friend of our family, who was like our chief what would you call him? Head of youth he would be now, but his name's a guy called Steve Watts, who was at Charlton. He got me a trial at Colchester.
Yeah.
And he brought me down there on the Monday morning, and we was training at Shrub End, and got over there. I had to bring my own kit, which was a little bit of a
Welcome to Shrub End,
you bring your own kit. You're jogging around dogs. Yeah, bringing your own jogging around dogs' messes. You're warming up and stuff like that, and you just think, right, okay, so start training, and the guy that took me down there said to me, Ken, what they're looking for is they're looking for an aggressive centre midfield player who can play a little bit. And I was like, right, okay. He said, so when you go and train today, take that aggression into your training session. I was like, yeah, no problem. That's something that I don't struggle with. But you, in training, you never generally go round
kicking people,
whacking people. It's almost like, you jump out of tackles. Well, that day wasn't like that. I remember going in with a tackle with Gavin Johnson at the time, and I cut him in half. Like it was a little bit of a naughty tackle. Like won the ball,
and he was very
at that point,
culture, weren't he, as well?
Totally. Like he was in an older pro, and it was like, right, everyone's getting it today. Like anyone who's
elbows out the lot,
and that's what it was like in the day, right? So I went and trained on a Tuesday. They said, we've got a reserve game tomorrow. I can't remember who the reserve game was against, but I went out and I played in the reserve game. Done well, was aggressive like the guy told me to be. I remember taking 2 in the privates that day, like it was point blank, and just shrugged it off. But in my eyes, the pain was searing, right? But just sort of shrugged it off and got through it. We played the Tuesday, finished that game Tuesday, had Wednesday off. Thursday we come in to train again, aggressive in training. Friday we train, and it's a lot. I've never been around at that point. I was never around a match day first team environment. So on the Friday we trained, and it was a lot less tempo. It was just 5-a-sides and a few set pieces, and then a squad goes up on the Friday. Now, bearing in mind, I only went there on Monday.
Yeah.
I went there on Monday. I played a game on Tuesday, reserves. The squad goes up for the game on Friday. Now, I'm sort of as I walked past the board, I just had a look just out of nose, just a curiosity more than anything. And I see my name up on the board. I think, right, okay, that's
good.
That's a little strange. So, it was a good start. So I thought, like, we had Luton the next day. I had to go and sign papers, registration forms to play. So I signed that. Come back on Saturday. We're at home to Luton. Do the warm up. I'm on the bench. Right, great. 26 minutes into the game, Joe Keefe, the left back, gets injured. It's like, well, there's no way I'm coming on. He's a left back. So Steve Whitten goes, who was the manager at that point, Kem, go and get warmed up. It's like, what? Well, that's a bit, what do you mean, going to get warmed up? He's a left back. I ain't going on a left back. Sure. So he calls me in, Kem, come on, you're coming on. And I was like, right, what's happening? He said, well, Gavin Johnson's going to go left back and you're going to go on in centre midfield. And it was 0-0 at that point. Come on. I think Aaron Skelton scores a penalty and someone else scores. We end up winning 2-0. And then after that, I obviously got interviewed. I'd done well. I played well that day. Obviously got interviewed. Oh, I thought you had a great debut. What do you want to do going forward? I said, well, I'm trying to earn myself a contract here. I'd love to sign. Yeah. Monday comes. Steve Whitten comes up to me and said, oh, you want to sign, dear? I was like, well, that's the whole point of it.
That's what I mean.
Like, okay, there's this year and next year if you want it. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, and then from then on there, I never really looked back. So it just goes to show that you can have setback after setback after setback. Yeah. You stay positive and you have a belief about yourself and you go and do the things that you can do and certain clubs want.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of luck involved as well, in the sense that it's being in the right time at the right place and that club wanting a specific player. Yeah. And do you tick that box? And all those things amalgamated into that one week.
Being in the right place at that time,
when I think about it now, I was so fortunate, and yet.
And how old were you, Ken, when you got to Colchester United?
I was 20 when I first played at Colchester. I went there I think it was sort of February, March sort of time of 2000.
Okay.
So, and I stayed there till 2013. So
good, nice.
Just going back to, obviously you're getting the knockbacks. You can't get a contract anywhere. Was there a point in time where you thought, you know what, I may have to, because all your friends were probably, bricklayers, accountants. Was there ever a point where you thought, I might have to go back to college? Football might not be for me.
Do you know what, Ange? If I'm being honest, no.
Yeah.
That may have changed if the Colchester thing never happened.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I still hadn't given any other thought other than being a professional footballer.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know.
Well, I think that's one of the things, that self-belief is so important.
Driven.
That self-belief, isn't it? It's so important for you to believe in your own.
But, you have to have the right people around you as well. Yeah. I think exactly, like my dad had seen a lot of this go on previously, so it was really useful having him and my brother to fall back on. Now, what you don't want is silly people that are giving you the wrong information, saying, "Oh, you're going to be fine. You're a brilliant player," when in reality is that they're giving you false hope.
Yeah.
And that's never nice to hear. It's hard to tell someone that you love that you're not going to be good enough to do that. But at the same time, I think there's ways of doing it that saying, listen, do we really want the heartache of the disappointments? And there's a gentle way of bringing people back down to earth. And I think that you have to be realistic and honest. And I think that unless you've been in and around the environment, I don't think you quite understand what it takes or what being a professional footballer is about.
Yeah.
Because we can sit here and say he's no good as a professional footballer. He's rubbish. I hear many people do it. You sit in a pub and they'll go, "Oh, he's useless. What's he doing there?" And he's getting paid 80 grand a week in a Premiership, and you just think, "Mate, come on, like he's on 80 grand a week." You probably don't mean he's useless, but have some respect. These guys are talented boys. People don't give 80 grand a week out for nothing. Let me tell you.
I know. Well, it's the same in League One, League Two.
Any league you go to. If someone's willing to pay you to play, you're doing all right.
Yeah, definitely.
Boys, can we get to some questions? We've got a few questions coming in from people that are watching. You're right if we just chuck a few of these to your way, Ken? Is that all right? And then we'll get back on, Andrew.
Yeah, of course.
So we've got Alice Humphreys has asked. So Kai and Archie have asked, what are the best teams that you've played against?
What are the big teams
against? What are the best teams you've played against? Who's the best team that you think you've played against?
Well, let's see, at that time, Chelsea were the best team we played against. We played against a team that had Crespo, Lampard, Joe Cole, John Terry, Sean Wright-Phillips, Makalele, Essien. Yeah, they had some ridiculous players that day, but they're obviously the best teams. But then you go on when we played Norwich in League One and they bashed us at home. They had a fantastic team. Yeah. They had Holt, Houlihan, and I can't think of the other boy up top. They had some real firepower up top. They were a decent team. But I've played against Leeds. I've played against Stokes. I've played against West Broms. I've played against Southamptons. But at that time, they were only in either League One or the Championship. They weren't the kind of teams that they are now. So I've played against some really, really good teams. But yeah, the best things are the occasions you play, and like playing at Leeds' ground is an amazing place. And the old Cardiff Ninian Park was like the most hostile places you could come across. And
crazy fans, aren't they?
No, mate, like you had Stoke. The three worst
Stoke away.
For Stoke away, Cardiff away, and Leeds away. You just knew that you was going to get it, like from the fans for 90 minutes. Like, and being at Leeds and being at half Turkish, you knew you was going to get it even more.
It's coming. It's coming.
You was going to get it even more. So you had to be mentally strong to deal with it.
Yeah. So we got one here from Nick, and Nick says, Kem, you're a great player. What was it like having Teddy and Clinton inside? Did you learn a lot from players like that?
From Teddy, especially, Teddy he never smashed anything. So when we used to do shooting sessions, he never hit anything with his laces.
Right.
He just used to guide everything. It was like a masterclass of finishing.
Right.
It was a masterclass. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And his first touch, I've never seen a touch as good as it. So there's a drill, Ange, that you'll know, right? So, you'll have a shooting drill and you'll have people serving from the side of the goal into the D of the 18-yard box, yeah? You have to control it inside the 18-yard box and you have to have your shot before it goes outside the 18-yard box, right? So Teddy Sheringham used to stand 5 yards back of the D and used to jog into the D as the ball was coming and take it on the move.
Really?
And still kill it where we wanted to and bend it in the corners. He was a joke, mate. And he was 40 at that point. So he was a year older than I am now.
Wow. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, he was crazy good. So you can only imagine what he was like 8 years before that.
Yeah.
Isn't it scary when you think about, like, Teddy Sheringham, don't get me wrong, an absolutely fantastic player. But you sort of, can you imagine a Messi or Ronaldo?
No, you couldn't. You couldn't.
Crazy,
no, you couldn't imagine it. It's ridiculous.
I mean, Teddy Sheringham had an amazing career, but you think of that top level, the ability is just crazy. They must have worked so hard to get there.
Mm.
Yeah, and when you see some of the players that have gone on to do so, I played against Aaron Ramsey, who at that point was at Cardiff, I think he was at Cardiff Cardiff, I think was it Cardiff or Swansea?
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Right, he was at Cardiff, I think, and his technical ability was crazy. Like, you couldn't get near him for the touch wires and stuff like that. And when we played Tottenham, Michael Carrick, I remember playing against Michael Carrick and thinking, right, I'm going to give him no time on the ball. Bearing in mind, that's what I might base my game on, is I'm going to be a rash. I'm going to get all over him. I'm going to kick him as much as I can and unsettle him, right? Yeah. I don't think I got within 5 yards.
Just chases his shadow.
Every time I went into him, just popped it. Moved the other side. It was.
Did he give you grief for that? Was he laughing at you, or did he know that you were chasing him? He was all right.
He just got on with it and made me look like a moron. But he was very, very good.
Fantastic. So we'll just go one more for now, if that's all right. This is from Jake Clousley. Is that a lad from the academy? Oh, okay. Yeah. So Jake's written an essay. So he's saying, who's the most underrated player you've played with or against? For his first bit.
Right.
Most underrated player.
Most underrated player I've played with.
Or against.
Good question. Let me have a think about that one.
All right. No worries.
Playing against. There was there was a lad called, and again, this is the second, it's the third schooling I ever had off of someone. The boy called Brammer, played for Crewe. He was about my height. He's about twice as wide as me. It was a little tanky geezer. And again, Crewe, I was playing well at this point. I was scoring quite freely, and I was playing really well. I went into this game thinking, right, I'm going to run over Crewe today. I'm just going to try and get forward, get shots off, try and get a goal. And Brammer gave me an absolute football lesson that day as well. He was so clever, so bright in just playing 1 and 2 touch. Never allowed me to get on the ball in areas that I was trying to get on the ball. Gave me a bit of a footballing lesson. So he was one of the most underrated players I've played against. Playing with is difficult because I think anyone that... that's a tough question, that. It'd be tough to pick someone out. I'll give you something that someone who far exceeded what I thought he would ever do, and that would be George Elokobi.
Really, yeah.
Okay. George Elokobi, when he came there, his touch was awful. He was this big, strong animal, is how I would describe him as. He was aggressive to the point where he was just injuring people constantly in training. It was ridiculous. He was cut out of stone. He wasn't great on the ball, not particular. And he just kept saying to us, and this is the crazy thing, he kept saying to me, I'm gonna play in the Premiership one day. And I was like, George, all right, mate, yeah, whatever, like, have a day off, mate. Like, and he said, no, Cam, I'm going to play in the Premiership. Trust me, I'll be in the Premiership. I was like, yeah, all right, George, whatever. And he went on and had one of the most unbelievable careers for his limitations, what I thought his limitations were. He far exceeded what I thought, and so fair play to the guy. Amazing resilience and self-belief, and his willingness to work hard. Amazing. Had a great career, and fair play to George.
Fantastic. So there's a big part of this one. So I'm just going to go to the last bit here of Jake's question, which is a really good one. What can you do on the pitch when you feel that you're not in good form? How do you put yourself up?
Okay, for me, this is really easy. Just work hard.
Yeah.
If you feel as though you're not playing well, first of all, when you get the ball, play simple.
Yeah.
Play simple, get yourself back into the game.
Yeah.
And then once you're without the ball, go and get the ball back.
Yeah.
Go and get it back.
Just never
Make
stop.
things happen. Go and get the ball back. Once you start getting on the ball, keep it simple, and then all of a sudden you'll think, oh, I can try this, and I can try something else, and I'll start believing in my ability, and you'll just grow and grow and grow into the game. But first and foremost is work rate.
Yeah, which everyone can do. It's not talent, is it?
You don't need it. You say everyone can do it. It's harder than what you think, because when you're hurting, there's a switch in some people that go, no, that's it, I'm done.
Okay.
And then there's a certain few others that go, you know what, I can keep going.
Yeah.
I can keep going, and I'm going to have to be dragged off of this pitch. There's no way in the world I'm going to say I'm tired. Someone's going to have to drag me off this pitch. And it's hard, because when you're in pain and you're hurting, people automatically go, that's me done now.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to just go, no, I've got another bit. I've got more in me. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, go on, Coach.
Go on, then.
I was just going to say, I've just had a comment here from Kevin Watson talking about this, saying I should have paid for his. Did you used to play with Kevin?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I should have paid for his hip replacement, the running that he did for me.
Yeah, he should have. He's right. He should have. He definitely should have. He's right.
What a player Kevin Watson is, by the way.
Yeah. See, that's at that point, our balance in that midfield was bang on, in the sense that he could really play. He could really pass the ball. My job in our midfield was go and get the ball back and give it to Watto.
Yeah.
And I was fine with that. That I knew my role within that team, and I maximised everything I could out of it. So my whole regime for training was get myself as fit and as physically strong as I can be. Win the ball back, give it to Watto. That was it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Yeah,
Just,
go on.
Just going back, so we go back to sort of how it all started for you.
Yeah.
So I remember you. I actually remember your first session at Colchester.
Right.
You turned up. You had a lovely car at the time. I think you might have had a Roadster or something. You had an amazing.
I did. I had a black Toyota Roadster.
Yeah, and I remember the.
That was courtesy of my brother. That was all. Don't worry, I couldn't even afford the insurance.
The car was amazing, and I was a scholar at the time. I remember thinking, "Goodness me, who the hell have we signed here?"
Weren't as good as it looked, was it?
And, I literally,
Big headphones.
You were talking to the club at that point. You probably didn't realise this, but obviously when we first saw you, you were small. You was 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah. You know, 5'8" on a good day as well.
Did you have to work hard physically? So was you doing a lot of? So I think this is important for the kids to sort of realise that you had these knockbacks because you were too small. So did you start going into the gym? Was you taking protein shakes, and how did that all take off from there?
So once I started playing first team football, you quickly realise that it's a very, very physical game.
Yeah.
You pick up silly little injuries through being not physical enough. So that summer, I started. So whenever I used to go on holiday, I used to have one rule whatever my missus wanted to do, there was one rule. We had to have a gym in the hotel. So I would wake up at breakfast. She would go down. We'd both go down for breakfast. I'd have a cup of coffee with her. She'd have breakfast, and I'd go to the gym. And I wouldn't see her for the next 2.5 hours.
Really?
I would do my running. I would do my core. I would do my weights.
Yeah.
All before I even set foot outside into like holiday mode.
Yeah.
That was something that I made sure I had to do, and that continued. And we got at the early part, and we never got given programs. You had to go away and you had to do your own thing, and you got beasted in pre-season, regardless of how fit you came back. And it was really pre-seasons were like crazy hard because it was just prehistoric running, right?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, it changed for me mainly, and this is no disrespect to Steve Whitton because I owe my whole career to Steve Whitton because he gave me that opportunity, right? But the minute Parky walked into the door, it changed at Colchester United. It changed in the sense that
the same, didn't he?
It changed in the sense that it became so much more professional.
Yeah.
So you either jumped on board on it or you got left behind.
Yeah.
And so we were given protein shakes at training.
Yeah.
We was given decent food at training. The gym there was all about Olympic weights and stuff like that. And you had your programs. And I would go and do my program, regardless if we had to do it or not.
Yeah.
That was something that I knew I had to do. And I remember speaking to Wayne and I remember speaking to Carl about this.
Yeah.
I think I was about 23, 24. The season went, I came back in a different body. I developed that year, that summer, for whatever reason, all the weights that I've been doing the years before and over that summer, I physically developed, and I put on about half a stone, but of muscle rather than weight. And it became a little bit easier at that point, playing week in, week out, because you had that physical, but you have to want to do it. It's like there are days where you can't be bothered to do it. Of course there are, but you have to drag yourself up and you have to go. If you want to be and maximise what you can be, you have to have a driven mentality about you to want to be better. And there's more I could have done, I would imagine. I can't say that I was the perfect. I still went out and I had a few beers and I've done stuff like that. But I've done as much as I thought I could possibly do at that point. And I'm happy with how my career went and how it unfolded. And I feel as though I maximised as much as I could out of it. And that was just purely, Ange. There was so many more players out there that were better footballers than me, but what they didn't have the work ethic and attitude that I had.
Yeah, I say this all the time. I say there's so many good players that I know, friends, that you'd expect to have done so much more in the game. But like you say, commitment is everything.
Huge.
You have to be committed. You know,
Huge.
For me on holiday, I didn't go to the gym. You know, I was enjoying my holiday, and it just shows you the commitment and sacrifice you have to do.
Yeah, mate. In all walks of life as well, is that your friends. Do you want to go out? And there are days where you think, yeah, I'd love to go out, but I can't go out. It's Thursday. They're wanting to go out and wanting to have a beer or something. No, I've got a game in 2 days. Like
you know it'll affect your performance.
Go out on a Thursday still, and you just wouldn't do it. I couldn't take it for granted ever, and I felt as though I would be letting my teammates down if I did go down. That's the way I felt, and I tried to do everything as professional as I could be.
Yeah.
Nice job. Yeah, like it.
And do you know what? If I wish I was 6 foot. If I was,
I think we all do, mate. To be honest, someone's commented on it saying who's taller.
If I was 5'11", 6 foot, I think I would have played higher.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But that is what it is, and I still have it. Like, you were small. You were small, and I was like, yeah, I was. But what you do is what you lack in height, I made up for aggression.
100%.
And attitude, so that's what I had to do.
We've just had a comment actually exactly on that. Rebecca Green saying it's great to hear positive talk about being a smaller player. Seb is still smaller than a lot of his teammates and his opponents, and he gets hard, but he's quick, so they can only get him if they catch him. So he's obviously a young lad that just knows it and he's embracing it.
Again, being a coach now, what I would say is when you're small, and this is just me, be smart with it. If you're gonna get pushed off the ball, don't hold on for the ball too long.
Yeah.
Play quickly, play round people, give and go. If you're 1v1, try. If you find you're getting yourself muscled off the ball, play smart, move the ball quickly, move on. You'll find that there are ways to beat bigger bullies and people that just want to use strength, and the cream usually rises. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. The boy that asked the question, Seb, he plays for our academy.
Right.
He's a fantastic player. He is very, very lightweight. He was actually, I think he was at a pro club. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. But that little bit of advice you've given there is massive, because he's probably one of the most talented kids I've seen. But
how old is he, Ange?
Sorry, say that again?
How old is he?
He's an under 10.
Oh, he's got ages, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what parents and kids need to try and not get bogged down with, is like, I need to be at a pro club.
Yeah.
Enjoy your football. Get as much different coaching as you can. This is what I would say. Like, and no disrespect to your coaching, right? But or whoever's coaching.
Yeah.
The more coaching you can get from different people, the more ideas you get, the better player you will be. Because if I trained with you every day for 5 days a week, I'm only going to get the same ideas and the same things driven into me. You want as much different sessions as you possibly can, and ideas and philosophies as you can. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. I still don't believe that you can overtrain. I really don't. I trained every day. I had structured training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, played Saturday, played Sunday. And it wasn't, and that was never my dad saying, come on, we've got to go training. That was always, Dad, come on, we need to leave.
I love the game, wasn't it?
You wanted to do it,
I wanted to play. And before we went training, I was out with my mates playing football.
Yeah.
So it's like, I had to be home for 4:30 to get to Sparrows Lane over in South London for 6 o'clock. So I'd get home from school, quickly go and have a kick about my mates for half hour, 45 minutes, get back, get changed, out the door. It was like, that's all I wanted to do was play football. I didn't need reminding that I had training at 4:30. I needed to be left at 4:30. I knew that. That was part of my routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a question.
Never ever once said, Cam, let's go.
Yeah. That's the way. You're still loving it. That's part of the thing, isn't it? I mean, we've had a question from
crazy.
Rob. Rob's saying, do you think that professional clubs are too cutthroat and serious for 8 and 9-year-olds?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but unfortunately,
Do they have to be?
everyone wants those positions. Everyone wants them, and they're in a position where if they've got a better player, and this is a horrible thing to say about an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old, if they've got a better 8 or 9-year-old at that point, they can afford to take the chance on that better 8 or 9-year-old because it's a numbers game. That's just the way football is, rightly or wrongly. That's just the way it is, and it's horrible for these children. Then don't get involved in it. Don't get involved in it at that age. Don't tie yourself down to anyone. That would be my advice. Don't get tied down with anyone, because the minute you tie yourself down with a club anyway, the rules now state that you can't even go and play for your Sunday teams or Saturday teams.
I was going to say that to you.
I loved playing for my Sunday team.
Most enjoyment. It's so enjoyable.
Yeah, I loved playing for it.
Yeah.
They were the best days I had playing for my Sunday team.
Yeah.
Ken,
so don't get bogged down with it. Yeah, mate.
I don't know if you remember this, but obviously I remember at Colchester they said you're not allowed to go on certain holidays like skiing and stuff like that. It's crazy, really, because especially now I've got my own son, I think you want your children to be kids. You want them to enjoy themselves, play with their friends. But it's tough because, like you say, under 12s, you have to play just for the pro club. You know, you can't do that. It's a different situation, isn't it?
It is, but I disagree with what the pro clubs say, because you'll find that most footballers, are not just good at football. They're talented to get with a number of sports, and that's because they've done loads of sports. And I'm not listen, this is not me preaching to kids about being naughty or anything like that. I remember playing run-outs on our school roof when I was at school. So after school, we play run-outs in our playground, and we'd be climbing on the school roof, which is like 12 foot high, and you'd be jumping across roof to roof, and then someone's trying to catch you. And, mate, I'm not lying. There was a couple of occasions I jumped off of the roof to get away from people so I didn't get caught. And all that does, and this is not me saying go and do this by any stretch of imagination. Right?
Don't try this at home.
All I'm saying is what that does, it just builds up other useful things in your body. So when you're saying don't go do skiing's really good for all your core work and your proprioception work. Skiing's amazing for that. And yet now you're saying don't go and do that, which is silly, because you need that to become a better player anyway. So you just need to try and balance what you do. Like, do football, love football, do it, but do other sports as well, because having good hand-eye coordination and stuff like that, and having good proprioception work and good core work goes a long, long way to being a good footballer.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. Great answer. I think we go back to the Colchester days, because obviously getting that promotion to the Championship.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, what that was unbelievable from Colchester United at the time, and you was a big part of that as well. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, you say I was a big part of it, right? That year, I think I played 27 games that year, but a majority of them were off of the bench that year, because in midfield that year we had Neil Dans, who scored 18 goals, who was unbelievable that season, and you had Watto playing that season, right? So I was a bit of a bit part player. I would come on when we're winning and see games out and stuff like that. And as much as it was a fantastic part of my career, I still feel a little niggly about it. I still don't feel as though it's horrible, which is because I did play a part in that, right? But I still feel as though I didn't contribute enough that season.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. You know, when like you pick the bones out of stuff.
Yeah, it just shows how much you were desperate to play, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's a horrible thing to do is you don't ever wish anyone playing poorly or your team losing, but there are occasions where you think, God, we're going to need a bad result for me to get back in this team. Do you know what I mean? And
there's only a certain number of places, isn't there?
It never looked like coming that season, not once.
That's such an honest comment from you, because like you say, all players, you're sitting on the bench, you're thinking, I ain't going to get a look in here. You know.
Which is fine, right? It's fine having those beliefs and them thoughts, right? But in training, you play such a big part, because if you start mucking around in training, not taking it serious, it has a knock-on effect to everyone else, because you're not then pushing Watto and you're not pushing Danzy to keep playing well and keep putting in performances. And without people like myself, and I'm not bigging myself up at all, right? But without the people like myself and whoever else was on the bench that year, without those people and whoever else was in that squad, you don't get promoted, because the whole squad was so good and so together. And yes, we had fallouts, because that's just the nature of the game, because there's 20 fellas there and not everyone's going to get on, right? So yes, you had fallouts, but everyone pushed each other and made each other better and made each other have to play to their absolute maximum. Otherwise, they were ready to go in. And that's what creates a good team.
Yeah. It's a squad, isn't it? It's a squad that you need.
And it was an amazing season. Don't get me wrong. It was an amazing season. And it's one of my most memorable things. But there's still part of me that thinks I didn't contribute enough. Whereas the season later, when we played in the Championship and we finished 10th, that's the proudest moment. One of the most proudest moments of my footballing career, because I think we played, how many games you played at? 48 in the Champ? 48, is that 46? You play 46? I played 45 games. I missed one game that season.
Really?
I started 45 games, yeah. So when we finished 10th and I played 45 games,
what a
for
season
me,
started,
do you know what I mean? I felt like I contributed that year.
Fantastic. So I'll just grab a couple of other questions, Andrew, if I can, because we've got loads coming through, which is great. So Paul Farley has said, Ken, do you think that with an opportunity for lads nowadays, we've had academies like Angelo's, do you think that's something you'd have appreciated as you were growing up when you was a youngster?
Yeah, definitely. I would never have been able. I would never have had time to go to one like Angelo's. Do you know what I mean? Because I was always training at a pro club at that point. But the more coaching you can get, absolutely, the better you'll be.
Yeah.
Then it's down to Angelo and his coaches to put on good sessions and make it fun that kids want to keep coming back.
Yeah.
You need good coaching, and you need an enthusiasm for the game and a willingness to work, and you've got a chance. And you have to have some talent, obviously.
Yeah, of course you do. So just go one more, Andrew, and then carry on where you are. Is that right? We're good?
Yeah, go for it.
So,
I love the questions.
Yeah. So Mark Morris is saying, what was it like going from playing to coaching at grassroots level and proving yourself in a different situation to playing? Was it a hard change to deal with?
At the time, I didn't think it was.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't think it was. When I look back at it now, I think, wow, I was so far away from being a coach like I am now. And I've still got miles of work to do. But yeah, I took things. I know Mark Morris well. He gave me a job when I went into a school and done an after school club with Mark.
Okay.
School, I think it was called St Joseph's in Grinstead, right? So I used to go there on one of the days after school, I can't remember what it was, and I used to get frustrated because I put on sessions that I was trying to improve every kid.
Okay.
Every kid. I would try and improve every kid. And the reality is, after school clubs and stuff like that, you've got to make it as fun as possible for them, because there are some that want to be footballers, and you will notice them very, very quickly. And what you have to do is you have to give them certain scenarios and different challenges within that session that you put on. But there are 98% of those children that are there, and Ange will back me up on this, because you're a form of childcare.
Yeah.
Right? That's all you're there for.
Fact, yeah,
you're a form of childcare, and you're there for an extra hour while parents are at work and doing whatever they've got to do, right? So what you need to do is, and I regret it now because I never figured this out until I came away from that school, just make it fun for them. Just give them as much fun as possible. Keep them all active. Try not to keep them standing around. Try and get them all a ball each and give them different things to do and different scenarios. But I look back and thought, no, it wasn't a hard transition, but yeah, it really was. And I look back now and think I could have done things so much more different. But like I said, you learn every day and you learn in different scenarios all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm a far better coach than what I am now, and I've still got so much than what I was then. I've still got lots of learning to do still.
Fantastic. Mark's just come back, actually. He just added a little bit extra on that. So do you still get the same buzz from coaching that you did from playing?
It's a different buzz. It's a different buzz because the best buzz for me is when, and I've had it on a few occasions on players that we've coached for long periods, and you get them into a pro club and they go on and they do really, really well, right? Or you get them from one place, and another thing is you get a quiet kid that doesn't come out of his shell, and then all of a sudden, 3 months down the line, he's having a laugh and a joke with you, and he wants to be your best mate, and you get a total different buzz out of having an effect on a kid through football in that sense. So there's all different buzzes that you get. No, it's a different buzz altogether than what I got out of football, because you was doing something and you was so totally focused, and I couldn't remember a name for love nor money when I was at football because I had everything done for me.
Yeah.
You come out of that and you have to learn very, very quickly how to use your brain again and engage things that you haven't used in a long, long while, in the sense that your memory has to be a lot better. You have to be a lot more organised for yourself. And it was a difficult transition, and it's not easy now, but you have to keep going with it.
Did you get support with that transition? Like, as a pro player coming out of the game, did you get support from the club?
Did I get what? Sorry.
Did you get support from the club?
No.
They just, cheers, mate, you're out.
No.
Because I mean, that happens.
Didn't get
That happens in a
transition.
lot of walks of life, doesn't it? You know, I've got a lot of friends that have been ex-army and they've come out of it and they've been built up to everything. But you get to the end of where you're needed, and then what do you do next?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a bit of a believer, a bit of an old school person. And you just have to get on with it. Get on with it and try and manage it as best as you can. You are going to make mistakes. You are. That's how you learn, and that's life. You're going to make mistakes. Learn from them quickly, and move on and keep working. That's all you can do. Just keep yourself busy. Keep doing stuff. And that's why it's difficult in these times, because it's hard to get yourself motivated because there's nothing to work for. But you have to do it. You have to keep going, and that's why being fit helps. Being fit really helps. Keeps you motivated.
Ken, just moving on to going back to obviously playing, you had your testimonial. That must have been an absolute proud moment. Obviously, like you said about getting knocked back to 18, 20 years of age and ended up having a testimonial at a football club, and showing that loyalty to one football club is pretty crazy, really, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah, at the start, you never give it a thought about having a testimonial with any club. Do you know what I mean? There were times where you're getting closer and closer to contract negotiations, and you're thinking, well, maybe this ain't going to happen, and I'm going to have to try and find another club. Then it turns to sort of 7 years, 6, 7 years. Carl leaves, and I get made captain. And it's like, well, you can see yourself. You start having a family in that area as well. Your kids go to school round in and about that area, and you just feel comfortable in a sense that you know this club, they're a good club. They haven't got your best interest at heart because it's a football club. Do you know what I mean? But you've got a mutual respect between you, and you just think, well, maybe I can see myself being here for quite a while. And then you get to sort of 10 years, and the testimonial was unbelievable. I got let down with one of the other things from it, which was Norwich. Lambert said that he would give me the testimonial, but at that point there was a lot of stuff going on between Lambert and Colchester because of how they left. That they couldn't agree terms to do it, and it that let me down. But the day was amazing. It was amazing, and having all ex-players come back and having my brother on the pitch as well that day, it was an amazing day, a day I'll never forget. Having my boys walk out with me on that day as well. I had my niece and nephew come out with me as well. It was an amazing day. I wouldn't change it for the world.
No, big respect for that, mate.
It was something that, if you don't get me wrong, right? If you say it's big respect for being there for 10 years, Now, if another club would have come in and it would have been an offer that I couldn't refuse, we all know that I would have gone. Do you know what I mean? That's just that's the way.
Did a club ever
No club ever came in for me.
Really?
It was so. And I was one of these people where security was a big thing for me, right?
Yeah.
So when it got to a year to 10 months, 8 months left of my contract, I never wanted my contract to run out. So I would always, so for someone to want me, they'd have to come in and buy me.
Yeah.
Right now, unless you're pulling up trees and scoring 12, 15 goals a season, which I wasn't. That wasn't the kind of player I was then, right? You're not going to get people coming and buy you. So I knew that. So I either had to take the risk of waiting until the end of the season.
Yeah.
Okay. And then be in a less strong position because if no one comes in for me, I'm desperate because I've got no one else to barter with. Or do I just look after myself? I'm content where I am. I'm happy where I am. My family's happy where I am. I'm enjoying my football. I'm playing week in, week out. So I just made that decision that I would go for security and know that I've got another 2-3 years on my contract rather than it run out. And then that just led into a testimonial, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And how many games were you there, Ken? 470 odd.
Sorry?
How many games did you play for Colchester United?
470 odd, yeah. 470 odd.
Wow.
Well, I think it's 474, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a few.
Just a few.
Yeah.
So you've had your testimonial, obviously. Was it 13 seasons? Was it at Colchester?
I was at for 13 seasons. I was there.
13 seasons. So obviously, when you left Colchester, you went into non-league football, didn't you?
Yeah.
That must have just been such a big change for you. But was it a really sad moment leaving the pro game? Like how did you take that? Because obviously at the start it's probably you went to Needham Market, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
So I remember at the time it was big for non-league. They're a good club as well, Needham Market.
Yeah.
But it must have still been a massive change, and you must have some days thought, "What am I doing here?" You know, because of the difference.
So I remember it as clear as day. The process of me leaving, it was 2013. We came in for pre-season. I had a decent pre-season as well. Bearing in mind, I was 30, just coming up to 33 at that point. So I still felt as though I had 2 or 3 years left in me, right? So I had a decent pre-season. And then the likes of Alex Gilbey was coming through. And no disrespect to Alex Gilbey, he's a really, really good player. But at that point, he wasn't as good as what I was at that time, right? He wasn't. He was a good up-and-coming player, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the Colchester had changed at that point. It was Robbie had came in and he wanted to lower the budget. He wanted to try and get experienced players like myself off of the budget and bring youth through.
Yeah.
Now, David Wright was there at that point. He was on less money than I was. And he was playing ahead of me, which is absolutely. I've got nothing against anyone at Colchester or any like David or anything like that. This is just how football works. And so we start playing. We go to Gillingham, the first game of the season. Joe Dunn's in charge, and I didn't even make the bench.
Really?
And I was thinking, I'm sat in the stands. I'm a 33-year-old man, and I get told at 12 o'clock that I'm not even gonna be on the bench. And I thought, oh wow, this tells me something here, right? So we carry on, nothing happens. I don't play again the next couple of games, and I think, right, okay. So I go and knock on the gaffer's door, Joe Dunn, and go, Joe, what's going on? Like, I think the biggest thing that riles me is that we'd had a conversation in the summer, me, him, and Carl, and Joe was like, listen, I want you to be a part of this club. I see you being part of the coaching staff coming through, and you're Colchester through and through. I need these kind of people around. And I was like, yeah, brilliant. That's what I want. So I said to him, what's going on, Joe? Like, I didn't call him Joe. I called him Gaffer because he's the respect that you give him. So Gaffer, what's going on? Like, why am I not playing? He just said, well, we've got people like David Wright. We've got Marcus Bean. We've got Andrew Bond. We've got Alex Gilbey. They're all ahead of you. So you're fifth choice. I was like, really? I'm fifth choice. He's like, yeah, that's the way I see it. I was like, right, okay. I said, so what about the coaching opportunities here? I said, because I can take being fifth choice and I can take being a bit part person if there's going to be a job for me after this.
Yeah.
Which you said there would be. He said, no, Kem, I can't at the moment. It's the chairman he won't allow me to bring any more staff on board. I said, so I'm fifth choice and there's no job security here for me going forward. And he said, no. And I just thought, well, there's no point being here then, Joe, is there? Like, I don't want to just sit around, pick up my money and be miserable, because I'm only going to take that home. And I've got kids at home that rely on me to look after them and muck around with them and have a laugh with them and stuff, be a parent. And he was like, it's up to you, mate. You do what you want to do. I'm not going to stand in your way. And so I was like, right, okay. So I left on, I think it was September, just before September 1st, so I could be a free agent. And then I had a bit of an interest from Exeter. Yeah. And I just thought, I'm 33. I'm 33. Am I going all the way down to Exeter for a year when I've got to start? I'm going to have the same problem next year. I just thought, there's no way I'm going to move my kids down there, move my family down there. Yeah. And then that means I'm going to have to stay away from my family 3 or 4 days a week. I weren't going to do that. So I just made that decision. And then my wife had a chat and I just said that I think what I'll do is I'll start up some coaching stuff in and around the local area, and I'll play some non-league football. And to be fair, I fell on my feet going to Needham. Yeah. Fell on my feet because they were like a mini pro club. Yeah, great club. Amazing. And Mark was fantastic. And he gave me a 2-year deal that lasted 12 months, which was unheard of. So I got paid in the off season. So it was almost like being a young pro again. Do you know what I mean?
That club, wasn't it? Massive signing for the club.
I don't know. That's for others to say. Do you know what I mean? But I enjoyed my 4 years that I was at Needham. I really did. And it'd be great to someday maybe go back there, because they're a fantastic run club. Run club from top to bottom. And they've got a fantastic manager there now in Kev. He's a real top bloke and a real good coach as well. So they'll do really well under him.
Yeah, man, great stuff.
Nice.
And then obviously moving on to your club. Obviously you was at Stanway as a manager, and now you're at Brighton. So you've got a massive job on your hands there. You're playing at a very, very good level, managing at a very, very good level. What sort of things have you had to deal with that? I mean, now you're a manager of a big, big club. It's a huge stepping stone to maybe something bigger as well in the future. What's the sort of the things that you found tough working at the club? Is it been players?
It's recruiting. It's recruiting players is the hardest part. Recruiting players because, and this is through no fault of anybody's, but unless you've got a substantial amount of money to offer some individuals, you can only attract a certain quality and caliber of player, and at a young age. And then what you've got to do is you've got to coach them to be better players. Yeah. Now, at that level, it's really hard to bring in players that haven't got that kind of experience at that level and get results week in, week out. You're going to get inconsistencies in performances from players, which I totally understand. But football is a result industry-based thing. So you have to try and stay positive with the group. Yeah. Try and coach as much as you can with the group, but while still trying to make it fun as well. It's I'm sure that many of the players that I'm managing at the moment would disagree that the training isn't fun, because it can be tedious at times, and you have to drill stuff into people and you have to do certain repetitions of stuff, and it can be boring. I've done it, I know that, but unless we do it and we learn what I want them to learn, we're never going to become a better team. So it's difficult, but I like challenging myself, and like I said, I'd like to manage as high as possible, and at the moment Brighton Sea is where I'm at, and I enjoy it there. It's a really good club, and it's a fantastic level. The people behind the scenes are all fantastic as well. They're really, really positive, and they've never really got anything bad to say about us or the team, which is good. And when you lose, they still really supportive with the players, which is what you want. So they understand what we're trying to build, and if we can keep the same squad as we kept last year and add a few more, then we'll do all right, because a lot of those players that were there last year didn't have Ryman Prem, Bostik Prem experience, and now they've got a year under their belt where they know what to expect, and we have to be fit and we have to be hard working as a bare minimum. If we can't be as good as other teams, we have to outwork teams, and if teams are willing to work hard with us and beat us on quality, we'll have to hold our hands up at the end of the day and say fair play to you, but we have to be willing to work harder than every team out there.
Yeah, no, fair play. Any other questions?
Yeah, so I think we've got a couple more. If I just run a couple more through, then we've got Bobby Bethel.
Yeah.
Bobby said, Kim, do you have a single personal most favourite moment in your football career? What's your favourite moment you've had? Not easy, are they?
I tell you, I do know it. I do know my favourite moment. So it was going into the last game of the season. I'm trying to think who we played. It was, I'm going to say it wasn't Stoke. I can't think who it was now. It'll come to me in a minute. Like at the championship season. And if we won that day, we could have made the playoffs.
Really?
Last game of the season, little old Colchester, 6,000 people at Lower Road. And we took it down to the last game of the season to almost make playoffs in the championship. Now, we didn't win that day. We got beat. I think we got beat 3-1. But it was, that would probably be the most memorable day I can remember. Just because there was so much on the line that day, and it wouldn't have mattered even if we won. We wouldn't have made it because other results didn't go our way. But we gave ourselves a chance even on the last day of the season. I think that was my most memorable day. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was so there's a good one here. 1 second, I'll just scroll up to find it. 1 minute. It's about practical jokes. It was about what was the from Aaron Graham. What's the best practical joke that you've either instigated or witnessed in football? Be careful, there's some kids, all right? There's kids watching.
Okay. I'm not sure I can say this, but I'll
go with it. We'll edit it if we have to.
I'll do the polite version, okay? I'll do the polite version. There's a couple. So we was away at pre-season in Germany under Paul Lambert. And we've been training all day, and we've done this running drill where... Sorry, Dave, but you're going to find out about this now. Dave Cohen he was blowing this whistle all day, getting us to run, right? Blowing this whistle, and it was roasting this day, and we'd run ourselves into the ground, right? And so after training, we had to go into this room and we had to get in the ice baths and do our recovery session in this room. And so we're all jumping in the bath. Some of us are having a stretch over the other side, and Dave Curran's put his whistle on the table. He's put his whistle on the table, and he's overseeing the ice baths while we're doing the stretch in the other end. And I'm sure that you can guess what I done with this whistle. So I striped the whistle, right? Is what I would say. I striped the whistle. You are?
Let's hope he's not listening to this.
I hope he is a little bit. It's about time I knew this. So I put the whistle back. All the lads in the ice bath have seen this, right? And Pat Baldwin's in the ice bath, and he's shouting, "Oh, you ain't blowing your whistle now, are you, Dave?" So Dave now thinks that I'm going to blow my whistle. Do you know what I mean? Who's he telling me I can't blow my whistle? And he starts blowing his whistle in this room, and everyone is just erupting, and he hasn't got a clue what's going on.
Till about 2 minutes ago.
What's going on. That's probably the worst one I've done. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Good. There was a time where there was a lot of stitch-ups going on at the new stadium. When we first went there was a time where, the roundabout by the as you come off the motorway and you turn right to go into the stadium.
Yeah.
That roundabout there.
Yeah.
When that was brand new, there was a few cars that got driven up there and parked on the roundabout, left there, And then we went back to the ground. Cars were being left there, yeah, or toes being cut out of socks. So as you go to put your sock on as you're going home, it comes up to sort of your knee area. Yeah, a lot of that went on. It was good. It was a good laugh.
I love it.
It's them times you're remembering it. It's them times with the boys.
Yeah.
I was going to say to you, Kevin, you got any memorabilia like we spoke about earlier, didn't we?
I have. I've got a few. Do you know what? I gave a lot of my shirts away.
Yeah.
I gave them a lot to people that were asking for raffles and auctions and charities. But my wife made me keep a couple because I've obviously got 3 kids. She made me keep 3. So I've got. Sorry, I'll see if you can see that. I've got this one.
Yeah.
That shirt. Old school. It's got. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I've got that one. I've got this one's even more old school. This one. Watch this one.
Cool.
See that one?
But Kevin, have you got your shirt for your debut?
I haven't. My mum's got that.
Your mum's got it, yeah. I thought
My mum's got that. And if I'm being, I got one given at 400 as well.
Yeah.
So 400 league games, I got that given, and my mum's got that one as well. I didn't know where this was the other day until Rachel told me where it was today. This was our. Can you see that?
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was our promotion medal.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was that. And then I got a flag that someone gave me at my testimonial that someone made for me.
Oh,
that was a nice touch. Yeah, that was a nice touch. And then I've got a few pair of boots that. Can you remember these?
Oh,
Predators, are they?
Yeah.
And these were my most favourite boots. They've had it now, but these were. Can you see them?
Yeah.
They're absolutely battered now as well.
Yeah, they're battered. Yeah, they've been in the car for God knows how long. And these are my second favourite boot.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Other than that, mate, that's all I've got.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Stuff, mate.
I mean, we've just had another message come in from Rob, we was talking about a little bit earlier. He said his 9-year-old boy stayed up listening to this, and that your message came throughout of hard work, learn, grow, repeat has been brilliant for him to hear. And I think I can second that. You know, the openness and honesty of the struggles, and it's not all great. And if you're not the best player, then you know you have to do something different. I think that resonates throughout so many walks of life. It's it's been fantastic.
Just don't take no for an answer is what I would say. Is that one thing I think every player should try and learn from as much as a young age as they can. What is their outstanding attribute?
Yeah.
Try and figure out what their outstanding attribute is and maximise your outstanding attribute, but also work on all the other stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's what I would say is that there's a team is made of loads and loads of parts. You're not going to have 11 Messis playing a team. Just is not possible.
Yeah.
Right? So you need someone that's going to win you the ball back. You need someone that is good at set pieces. These are things that managers pick teams on. Is that, we're a set piece team. He's got a worldly left foot. He's going to take all my set pieces from the left.
Yeah.
So these things you should be thinking. And whilst you're 9 and 10 and stuff like that, these aren't the things that you need to be worrying about at these sort of ages. Is that enjoy football.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Don't take things too serious. Don't worry about being at pro clubs. Don't get bogged down with I must be at a pro club. I had a what do you call it like Anjad. I had an academy like what Anjad, and the biggest problem that we faced with parents is when are we gonna play pro clubs? When are we gonna play pro clubs? Now, the problem you have with playing pro clubs, right, is that unless that you've got a group of players that you feel can go in and get into a pro club, the minute you play against that team, you're now put on a list of players that they've seen. This is how football works, right? So they'll go to Ange and they'll get a list of players that Ange has got. And now they get put on a database, and now they know that them players aren't quite ready to go in at their pro club. So now they've killed themselves a little bit because they've been put in the shop window too early.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So it's not about playing them regular. It's about playing them at the right time when you've got players that are ready to go in.
Well,
That's
Ken, look at your career. You timed it. Well, obviously, the timing was pretty lucky with the Colchester thing.
yeah.
If it was 2 years earlier, maybe you wouldn't have been ready.
Maybe. Do you know what I mean? It's being at the right time at the right place. You've got to have ability. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's all about hard work. You have to have ability as well, but you have to be at the right time, the right place, and trust people that have got your best interest at heart.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, Kim, I've got a question for you.
Okay, mate.
Everyone wants to know, but I said this to Dukes as well. Obviously, you was a big player at Colchester. You started your management journey. Would you take the Colchester United job at some point? Is that like a dream for you?
I think that's the end goal, isn't it? At some point, is that you wanna do well enough in your managerial career that at some point a pro club does come in for you and wants you to manage their team. Now, everyone says Colchester because I've had such an affinity with Colchester United. You know what I mean? And yes, that'd be brilliant, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Colchester United. I just want to manage as high as I possibly can, and if that means Colchester, I get the opportunity at some point to do that. Absolutely, and if I don't, then doesn't mean that I'll stop managing. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, great stuff, mate. Well, Lee, I think.
Jamie Shaw says he wants to go and play Warzone. We've got to hurry up. So, but yeah, that's. I mean, there's a few longer questions on there, but we can go back through them, and maybe Kim, if you have a little look on Angelo's page, maybe you could address a couple of the questions in the comments, maybe at some point, if you don't mind. There's just a few longer ones from some parents, really. But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. Do you reckon, Ange?
No, definitely. I just love the honesty, mate. I think the kids that are watching, obviously it's a little bit late now, but obviously they can watch this back. But there were some great points in there, mate. So listen, really do appreciate you coming on tonight, mate.
No problem, mate. It's a pleasure.
Top job. And so loads of people have been commenting saying about how happy they are about how open and honest it's been. So top job. Hopefully people can take something good from it.
Be my down point at some time.
You'll be all right. Lovely. Right. Cheers, gentlemen. Cheers. We'll end this here. Thank you everyone for watching.
Cheers for everyone.
Keep an eye out for the next one.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.